Awesome. Thank you.
Here we go.
Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. My name is Ibrahim Haddad. I am the Executive Director of the LFAI, and I'm really excited to be talking to you today. Actually, as a very interesting information, my wife is from Italy. She was born in Cenzo in Italy, and she got even more excited than me that I'm speaking to an Italian crowd tonight. So my presentation will be touching kind of an overview of LFAI and what we're doing to accelerate the open source AI innovation and collaboration, and generally speaking, the open source AI ecosystem. And I think one of my favorite slides that I always present in almost every single presentation I do on open source AI is the landscape presentation. So what you see in front of you is what you call the LFAI landscape, which showcases the top tier, about 280 projects that are open source within the AI major area. And of course, as you look deeper into this landscape, you can see we have divided it into multiple categories. For example, machine learning, deep learning, data, models, and so on. And within each of these categories, we have subcategories. So let's look in the top middle, we have deep learning. And then within deep learning, we have frameworks, platforms, libraries, and tools. And this is an interactive landscape. So if you visit the website at l.lfai.foundation, you can click on each of these projects and get additional information. So why do I like to present this slide is to show that this is a very thriving ecosystem. There are about 300 top tier projects that are very active. And these projects that you see on the screen are the effort of a little over 35,000 developers that are contributing code to these different projects. And another interesting information is that these projects move at such a rapid pace of development that every 7 to 10 days, there's about 1 million lines of code added collectively to all of these projects. So it's very active, very fast-paced development model. And of course, when we started this landscape about 2 years ago, we only had about 70 projects. So we are about 4 times that number of projects in about 2 years. And I'm just speaking about the top tier project and not counting all the long tail of projects with very little community contributions into them. So despite the fact that this is a very thriving ecosystem with a lot of hundreds of companies involved, 35,000 developers, there are definitely some challenges in it. And these challenges vary depending on the project. Some of these challenges are related to fragmentation, where you can see on the previous slide that if you're looking for a machine learning framework or a library, you have 10 to 12 of them. So basically, there's a lot of competition between projects for developer time and attention from companies and adoption, and that creates a lot of fragmentation across the board. And because we have so many projects, it's really hard to integrate all of them across with each other. Because if you are a data project, you want to integrate with machine learning library, then you have maybe 15 different libraries. So you need to pick and choose which library you want to integrate with, and so on. So that creates a lot of issues in terms of integration, and of course there's a lack of cross-pollination because developers contributing to project A may not have enough time to contribute to other projects and so on. Other types of challenges we see across a lot of these projects is related to governance. So many of these projects don't have a formal governance. Some of them have a governance, but it's either favors the creator of the project or the founder of the project, or it's not documented and not really followed and executed. Other challenges relate to the fact that some of these projects started as an internal effort to provide an implementation for either a feature of a product or a product. And through time, the company realized that the true value is not the actual library or framework or platform, but the true value is in the data, the model, and the applications. And they therefore decided to open source that piece of code and build a community around it and make it kind of part of the open AI ecosystem. And that explains why you can see a lot of these projects that provide similar functionalities. And of course, when some of these projects grow and become very successful, and actually Onyx is a great example of this, where the project has maybe 35, 40 companies involved in it, a huge community, then it becomes a challenge on, who's going to manage all the plumbing of the project, who's going to own the website, who's going to manage the trademark, who's going to run the infrastructure or the build system, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of these challenges together form kind of a virtual glass ceiling for project adoption. So if you are a company and looking into that landscape picture and you want to decide on a project to pick, ideally you want a project that is highly adopted by many other companies and that are contributing to it. You want a project that has an open governance. You want a project that has a lot of integration with other projects within that same domain. And also you want a project that is hosted in a place where the assets of the projects, be it a GitHub organization, website, trademark, any kind of asset that the project has, are in a safe, neutral environment with equal access to everybody. And this is basically the genesis of LFAI. And of course, we are all aware of the advantages of open source, be it access to the source code or the ability to influence the development via contribution, or the flexible licensing model around it, and many other benefits. However, one of the questions I always get is, what is so unique about open source, very specifically to AI? And what I try to explain is that the open source development model, the methodology, the openness, and the transparency is actually extremely important in building open source and AI systems. So when it comes to building intelligent systems, we need to be very careful about 4 different keys that I showcase on the slide. Fairness, robustness, explainability, and lineage. And the bottom, you can see that there's open data. So we need data for all of these, and we need to have open data and methods and tools and software that will help us basically manipulate this data to clean it and sort it, track where it's coming from, its provenance, and to have kind of a governance structure around doing all of that. And these differ by region, for instance. So I think there's a very interesting and hot presentation on trusted AI during today's session. So I will not spend too much time on this, and I believe the presentation following on trusted AI will cover some of these concepts. So LFAI was born from that idea that there are a lot of open source activities in that open source AI ecosystem, and we would like to support that ecosystem and enable additional collaboration and innovation in that space. And this is basically the de facto mission of any Linux Foundation umbrella foundation. So if you think of the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, or the Hyperledger Foundation, or the Automotive Grade Linux, or LF Edge, or any other foundation operating under the Linux Foundation, we all share the same goal. We want to enable the community. We want to provide a lot of services for the projects within that ecosystem. And we want to accelerate the development in these projects and the rate of innovation. And so we share all the same goal. However, each of us as individual umbrella foundation, we execute in a specific vertical domain. So we, as in LFAI, we execute in the AI domain, others in the cloud, other foundation in network, and so on. So why do we care about this? What are our motivations for harmonizing and creating that effort in that open source AI ecosystem? Of course, we want, as I mentioned earlier, accelerate the development and make sure that when companies, organizations want to adopt a certain AI technology, they always opt for open source first. And part of that is we want great interoperability and capabilities across these different projects hosted and mentioned on the landscape. And one of the the things that we've witnessed for 20 plus years now, given the history of Linux Foundation, is that hosting projects under a single umbrella foundation really is an enabler for that closer collaboration and integration, and is a proven recipe for building strong ecosystem. And actually, we have on the call today the chair of the Technical Advisory Committee from LFAI, Jim Sporter, who's under the TAC launching, and we have several collaboration opportunities. So this is really a very factual and very practical thing we're discussing, not some nice bullet points, right? So from an end user perspective, our motivation is to provide a unified guidance for our users on tools, on integration, on standards, and generally, really the future of what's going to happen to AI and data analytics, because as it grows in terms of adoption, all industries are using these technologies. And of course, from a membership perspective, we have a lot of companies using these different technologies, and we want to support them and create very efficient system in enabling the services we provide to these projects. So LFAI was born and announced in March of 2018. And as you can see, actually, we stopped updating this chart in July, but we've had quite a bit of growth. We started with 1 project and 9 members, and today we are north of 35 members and 22 projects. And we have very interesting announcement that we are making on Monday, on the October 26th, as part of the Open Source EU Summit. So if you're interested, and obviously you should be if you're attending this call, if you're interested in open source AI and LFAI, I would urge you to look up our blog, our website, and our social media on Monday, because we have a very exciting announcement, a lot of new members joining us, expanding our scope, and adding new projects to the foundation. And we're also changing the name of the foundation just a little bit to demonstrate our commitment to the new focus area. So please stay tuned on Monday for that news. So how are we structured? We have a very basic structure similar to other foundations in the Linux Foundation. So we have the governing board on the left-hand side, which is basically the funding efforts. This is basically how we have funding to support our projects. Companies join the foundation, they provide sponsorship money, and then that money goes into supporting the foundation efforts and the projects. In the middle, the green box, this is the Technical Advisory Council. And under the Technical Advisory Council, we have different committees focusing on different efforts. We have the Workflow and Interoperability Effort Committee, and we also have the Trusted AI Committee. And I believe the following presentation will discuss a little bit on this. And on the right-hand side, we have the different projects that we host in incubation in the foundation. And you can see we have 2 levels of incubation. We have what we consider a graduate project, which is a mature project that has been proven in terms of deployment, that has a significantly large community of users, and as well as contributors and a steady flow of commits and so on. And Onyx is one of these graduate projects, and we have a presentation from Onyx during today's session. And the other category of projects are what we call incubation project. So these are projects that varies in age. So some projects join us when they're 2-3 months, 6 months, and other projects join us when they're 1 or 2 years old. And then we work with them to strengthen them and to drive them into graduate level. So we have a number of different activities. I will not cover this too much to respect the time I'm allocated, but basically we provide a neutral environment that is not for profit with an open governance to allow collaboration in a very fair and open way. We have a number of efforts to support the harmonization of the ecosystem and to support interoperability and integration across different projects. We have the Trusted and Responsible AI effort. We have a specific committee for that, and we host 3 major projects that were donated by IBM to the LFAI. And we have different efforts in data, models, and a little hint that our announcement next week will be related to this specific box. And of course, we provide funding for our projects, and we offer them a number of enabling services in relation to marketing, legal services, project and program management services, event services, and so on. So in terms of membership, this chart will be updated next week. So this is valid as of today, but there's going to be about 10 to 12 new companies announced next week. So we have 3 tiers of membership: the premier level membership. This is a board representation membership, general membership, and associate membership, which is really dedicated for not-for-profit organization, R&D labs, government organizations, and universities. So if you are on this call and you fit this category, if you work for a non-profit organization or a government lab, or you are a professor at a university or a staff at a university, you are more than welcome to join your organization at zero cost with the same benefit as the general membership. And we have, it's really worth to mention that AI for People is actually a not-for-profit organization based in Italy. So we have these different projects, as I mentioned earlier. We will have an updated list of projects as we have new projects joining us that will be announced next week. So what does it mean to be a foundation project? We have and we offer a neutral place for projects to be hosted, which really increases the willingness of companies to collaborate, as you typically have companies competing on the marketplace day in and day out. But then when it comes to open source and working within a foundation, all companies, even though they compete in the marketplace or at the commercial side, they come together and they collaborate under a neutral environment. You will have, as a project, the support of the Technical Advisory Committee and mentorship from its members. You will have an open governance model set up to the project by the foundation, and a number of full-time staff that are dedicated to support the project from a legal perspective, from a market perspective, from a program and project management perspective, events, and many other areas. So one of my favorite slides to showcase is who is hosting projects with LFAI. So you can see on this chart, there are a number of really tech giants from different geographies. So we have from North America, we have from China, from South Korea, from India, from Europe. So it's a very, very great lineup of companies. And if you notice, these companies are worth, some of them, over $1 trillion, and they have massive budgets. So definitely they don't come to LFAI to host their projects because we offer the services, and it will save them creating a website or some infrastructure or AWS credits. These companies come and host their project with LFAI because of the Linux Foundation history in providing a neutral environment, because of the open governance we support our project with, and our experience in supporting and enabling projects to grow and become de facto adopted project in their specific domains. One very specific item to note, actually a couple of them, is that part of what we do for our project is, and I mentioned this earlier, a support in marketing and PR. And this year alone, for the first half, basically January 1st to end of June, we've done 26 announcements in support of different projects and initiatives we have, and we support the project specifically in via blog posts, white papers, creating posters and presentations, and supporting them in developing websites, creative work, or anything they need. And they really do appreciate that a lot. Another area where we have a lot of support for project is events. This is how we actually grow our community, and this is how we bring people together. Unfortunately, for 2020, it's been mostly virtual, with the exception of January and February, and we hope to get back to physical events in 2021. However, we have different events. We have what we call the LFAI Summits. We sponsor a 3-day track at the Open Source Summit that allows us to invite and have 18 to 20 speakers over 3 days. We also have what we call the LFAI Day, which is a specific day dedicated to a single project. So you can see on the screen, we recently had the Onyx Community Virtual Meetup and many other events that we either sponsor or host. And that allows our community to come together to exchange and to get updated, exchange and ideas and start collaborating. So the incubation of project is a very simple process. The Technical Advisory Committee, the TAC committee, is responsible for voting in new projects into the foundation. The committee is chaired by Jim Sporter, who's on the call. So if you have any questions on the TAC, please feel free to send it to Jim over the chat. And I also see on the Slack, on the Google Meetup window, Jim just shared the LFAI Slack channel. So you're very welcome to join the Slack channel as well. The TAC committee meets every 2 weeks. And I added the link on how you can propose projects for incubation on the screen. Some other resources are also available from our website, are the different stages of the project and what kind of services we offer for our hosted projects. And I would also invite you to visit our website if you're interested in hosting projects with us and learn about this. And also, please reach out to Jim or myself, and we're more than happy to have a call with you and discuss. So you can stay connected with us in different social media channels. We have open mailing lists, so you're more than encouraged to join the TAC mailing list. All of our TAC calls are open. We meet every 2 weeks. We have a number of really invited speakers that show up every 2 weeks and give great talks. So this would be a great learning for anybody who's interested to know what's happening in the ecosystem, how foundations work, how projects get incubated, and listen to invited talks. So if you are a commercial company or a university or any kind of organization interested to learn more about LFAI Foundation, you can follow up with me directly. You can also join us. I have the link for joining the foundation on the slide, and you can also find it on the website. So again, thank you very much for inviting me today and for giving me time to talk to you about the LFAI Foundation. And I pass the mic back to the panelists to see if there are any questions. Otherwise, we move to the next presentation. Thank you.